Boom, boom, boom. And welcome back to Gears of Trust. I'm your host, Maynard Bear. Well, we're well into October here now. 5th of October, this recording is being made. It's going to be dropped here tomorrow on Monday. Maynard has been gone for the summer, people. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I think the last episode we really got into anything in detail was with Tim Sims, with the author of a book called Canada the Myth. From that post there, I did my usual thing on social media, and I got shut down on some, some issues. I got up and running again. What have I been up to? Well, I've got my book completed. I've got my speakers website completed, and I've been creating an app. The app is going to be called Buttercups at Work. And what that app does, it's a personality profiler that kind of works along with my book. So anybody knows my book, Onward Buttercups, it specializes in teams, why our teams are functional, how to build a good team that works together. The personality profiler, what that does, is enables you to take 6 or 8 characteristics of a coworker you've just met or you're working with. You'll put it into the app, and then it will populate back to you the type of person that you're dealing with, the do's and don'ts of how to interact with that person. So if anybody would like to partake in the development of that app, so I'm at the testing phase here now. I will send you a link directly, but in order for you to get that link directly to the app, you'll have to link to me or message me on any of the medias, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and I usually do most of my work on Facebook or Instagram. So that's that for me. So also, in my absence from the podcast world, I did a speakers boot camp, because speakers beget speakers, bikers beget bikers, authors beget authors. And guess what? At the speakers boot camp in Edmonton, 20th of September, I met this young lady, Jalene Murphy, and she's an author as well. So I'm an author, and authors beget authors. Her book, Modern Day Courage. Pretty cool. And we sat together for the first day of the boot camp, at the table together, and got to know each other and her interests. And she has a very, very interesting story, and interesting enough that I thought I'd like to have her on the podcast. So that being said, Jalene, welcome to Gears of Trust.
Well, thank you, Maynard, for having me. And I hope you enjoyed reading my book as much as I enjoyed reading yours, because I just love how real you are. And I still go to that sea can story that you told in that book, and just the reality and realness of that. I just thought, yeah, okay, this is Maynard. He's a real person. I would really love to be on his show.
There we go. Well, thanks for coming in. So, modern day courage. So we're talking at the boot camp, and modern day courage, like that was just a weird name. So can you give the viewers an idea just exactly what the book is about? Let's just take it right from there.
Yeah, sure. So the book is, well, I'll just say it's 6 short stories, and it's 6 short stories of my life broken up in different sections of how I've used courage. And it is something where I was never thought I would write a book. I will just say that. I never thought I would be an author, but life takes you down different paths. And the book started, I guess, I'm part of Toastmasters. And so during COVID, I would send all of my speeches to different people to say, what do you think? And people would come back and say, oh, Jay, you should do something with this. And I was like, no, they're my friends, so they're probably just being nice, saying these things. And so I thought, I kept getting that response, and I thought, okay, well, maybe I should do something with them. Maybe I should, write a book to help others. And it was then when I sought out an actual editor, and I sent them to him, someone who I paid, who didn't know me, who didn't know my stories. And he came back and said, yeah, with some shaping and some edits and things like that, it could turn into something. And so it's a quick read. I think it's only like 46 pages, and it's all varieties how I used courage to achieve dreams, to do hard things, and to live the life I am living today is all because of courage, and how courage can be cultivated, and how courage can be used I think in all walks of life. And so that's why I'm just thankful to be on your show, because um, it's something that's available to all of us. And we just have to take those courageous steps.
So, Jalene, do you teach on the side? Like, do you have groups that follow you to learn how to muster courage and
No, I haven't.
you-
I'm not coaching or anything like that. But not that I'm opposed to it. I just I no, I haven't. But I love hearing from people that maybe have read the book and have taken steps to live more courageously. And I mean, that is my goal, to help others live more courageously. And whatever that looks like to people, I am their cheerleader. I definitely want people to live more from the heart and to live a life that is true to them. And so no, I'm not into coaching, but I'm not opposed to it, but it just hasn't happened. Yeah.
so you're not trying to monetize your book. It's more or less a collection of memoirs. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it is a collection of stories, and there'll be more to come, I think. I mean, I love writing, and it's a great creative out, outlet. And writing the book actually, I think, was more healing than I thought, way more cathartic than I ever experienced. And so, for people that may not want to put it into a book form, but want to share their stories and just get it out of them, I would encourage people to do it, because it's very healing. And you don't have to share it with anyone. You could just write it and burn it and release it. And it would be, I think it would be beneficial. So
Did you find the book to be a release more so than likely? Do you journal?
I journal every day. I
Okay.
journal every day. And I have since um, I really started journaling when I was, working on some things within myself. When I kind of was at that crossroads of, should I stay married in a heterosexual marriage, or should I proceed down a route that is going to lead me to a divorce? And there was a lot of change at that time in my life. And so when I read a book, I read a book called, I think it was um, Women Who Are Married That Love Women. And it was sort of like, where I was married to a
There's
wonderful
actually a
man.
book about that? Excuse
Pardon?
me, but there was actually a book about that, or
Oh yeah, there was actually two books that I read, and it's listed in the back of my hold on, just wait 1 sec, Maynard. Um,
take your time. This
there's
this is a casual conversation. Anybody's watched Gears of Trust, you're always seeing Maynard fidgeting and stuff and brushing his mustache, and this is real. This is just a conversation between two friends. That's all it is. So
yeah,
don't get too.
there's two. Um, Joan Fletcher, she wrote Living Two Lives, Married to a Man and in Love with a Woman. And also Karen Stock, Married Women Who Love Women. So both of those books I bought and I read. And one of them said, you're in a phase where, you should be journaling a lot. And right there and then I just started journaling every day. But I've journaled, I think, since grade 6. Like, not as heavily, not every day, but I'm a huge believer of journaling to see, your thoughts at any given time. And a lot of it was helpful looking back and writing for this book. I was able to go back and see my thoughts in a certain period of time. And that was really helpful, because I had then I had the content, and to realize, wow, that's what I thought at that specific time in my life. And it was powerful to see the
You're
growth.
not going to believe this. I just got another coffee on screen. Just as easy as
Have
that.
an it's Sunday. Have another coffee.
Yeah, tough time waking up here. So let's go back to that. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Just
You
being,
said it was casual, so
yeah, very casual. So with that journaling, So you transitioned, you read the two books, now you've created your own book. So I'm going to ask you what courage, like modern courage, what's the difference between modern courage and old fashioned courage?
Yeah. Well, you know what? When you sent me that question, I really had to think about it. And I'm glad I had some time to think about it because I it made me think of my grandparents and my great grandparents and especially from a woman's perspective. And both of my grandparents, great grandparents were very religious, very tied to religion. Um, I think about my great grandma who was married to an alcoholic. My grandma swore that she would never marry someone who drank. Um, and so I just think of the courage that they had to live every day. They weren't at a point where they could financially or because of religion make changes in their life. So they were courageous living with what they were dealt.
Just
And
day to day existence, basically. Eh?
yeah, the more of a survival, whereas, now I have the capacity as a woman to make my own money, to get a divorce, to live the life that I believe is right for me. And so I don't, it's all of the same essence, but um, it's just different in the fact that now I have that choice. And I could have stayed, as an example, I could have stayed married. But I was fortunate that I have a job. I live in a place in Canada where I can get divorced and I can support myself. I don't need to be tied to someone to be,
You're, you're
taken
not,
care of.
you're not,
And
you're not
I
owned.
didn't.
You're your own person. Is that what you're saying? You're not owned. You're your own person. Would that be a correct assessment of that?
Well, it's just I, the modern part comes to choice, I think.
Or,
And that's something where, I chose to leave religion. I chose to ask for a divorce. I chose all of these things. But my grandparents' courage, they were still courageous. My great grandparents, they've moved from different countries to come to Canada to live a quote unquote a better life. And so I don't think the essence of it changes. I just think now, you know, for women in Canada, we have choices and have that agency to live how we want to live. And um, I still think about my great grandparents that, you know, it was more, they were farmers, they had to get up, they had to milk cows, they had to, my great, like my baba, for instance, probably had 200 cabbage plants that she had a huge garden, but she watered by hand,
wow.
and so she, she she worked hard and she was courageous in her own way, raising kids on a farm and being a wife and having kids and being very part of the church and was tied that way. And so, like I said, I don't think the essence of courage changed, just the situation in which we find ourselves, and then that choice to decide to be courageous, because it is a choice. Yeah.
So that's quite a difference when you put it in that perspective, right? So that being said, so what do you think would happen if you didn't act on your courage? If you didn't act, right? So courage is one thing. The action behind that courage is another thing. So had you not taken the courageous steps that you took in life, put you where you're at today and where you want to be, it's very important to be where you want to be. What do you think that outcome would have been? Have you ever thought of it?
Oh, I thought about it. And I think it would be stifling to start with, to know something of yourself and to know that you just don't belong where you are. I think it would, I just think it would be soul crushing. And I don't mean that in a very, dramatic way, but when you know something of yourself and you choose to go against yourself,
Yeah.
um,
I was telling the guys at work the other day, we were talking about people and this and that, and this is what I want to do and what I want to do. For those who don't know me, I've been in the workforce for over half a century. That's a long time to be in the workforce, people. And one thing one thing I have learned that every 10 years we change as people. So from 0 to 10, I had a lot of fun running bicycles, driving, jumping bicycles, and fishing and climbing trees. And grew up in rural New Brunswick. From 19 to 20 years of age, I was in the Navy. Well, chasing women and sailing the seven seas was my dream. In my 30s, wow, this is the truth, eh? In my 30s, go moving into my 30s. Now I've got 3 kids that I'm looking after, so I'm thinking of 3 kids. Then I hit my 40s. Next thing you know, I'm thinking about, geez, well, what am I going to do to prepare myself for life? In my 50s, I'm saying, well, all right, I get careers, stuff like that, but am I really happy? And then moving into my 60s, I'm thinking, what can I do to help others?
mhm,
So consistently, every 10 years, we change. And I think you recognizing the change that you needed and taking the courage to act on that is very special in itself. A lot of people will have different changes in their life, and they leave the change shape them or they shape the change. There's two ways you can approach that. Does that make sense?
mhm.
Um, I was pretty impressed with your stories. We sat together at the table. So moving along, though, I'm going to get you to reveal more of the plot. So why don't you take your story in your book and bring me right from start to finish, and then we'll expand on that. Right? So
Sure. Well, the first three stories of the book are standalone. So the first book is, and then the last three chapters are kind of the same story. So the chapter one is about following your dreams. Chapter two is, I am a woman, and I've chosen not to have children, which in my Irish Ukrainian Catholic family, that was
that
that
was
was
almost taboo. Hey, that was almost like you're almost shunned from society with that decision.
Yeah, I felt like a fish swimming upstream, but
Yeah,
again, it's about just knowing who you are and saying, you know what, this is not a path for me. And I love being an aunt, and I love that role of, being a little cheerleader to my 9 nieces and nephews. And
yeah,
I don't have to be a mom. Like, and
yeah,
there's no shame in that. Like, I just didn't see myself in that role. And I birthed something else. I birthed a book. So it's just, just having that courage to, know that of yourself, and to just resist the constant badgering from 20 to 40 of when I was having a kid. So that was chapter two. Chapter three is about perfectionism. And that is, I took a year of challenging myself to stop shopping, like clothes shopping.
yeah,
And
yeah. So that broke down into 12 months. So that explain that more to me because I'm a guy. I don't shop like that. So was that the internal battle within yourself of not being able to?
well, you know what, Maynard, I would say that the first um 3 to 4 months, it was, I didn't have the awareness that I was my fighting myself in the internal battle of kind of shopping in order to look good, in order for people to comment on how I looked. So I was being fueled by other people's comments of me, which is not a good place to be in for yourself. But I didn't know that at the time. But
So there was an internal struggle about shopping within yourself, or
no,
like
no, just
I'm a
the
guy, so you're gonna have to. I'm a guy,
yeah,
so you're gonna
I'll
have to
I'll
dumb it
back it
down a
up. Yeah, I'll back it up. So when you have poor self-esteem,
Yeah.
you rely on other people's comments to make you feel good. And I didn't realize that I use clothes shopping when I, shopped and I look good. And people would say, "Oh, Jay, that's a great top. You look great today." Or "That's a great skirt." Or "I love that dress on you." I was relying on those compliments to make me feel good. So I didn't have that self-esteem piece that I have now, where I don't need to look good to show other people that I'm feeling great, I look good. But
Yeah.
it took literally a year in order to figure that out and to
You went a whole year without buying some clothes,
I went a
or
whole year, and it was hard because there were
you
like I was in
you wrote it
Italy.
as a boxing match. You wrote it as a battle, which is
Yeah, and it was a battle. I mean, perfectionism is insidious and it shows up in different ways in people's lives, and it is a real bitch. I can say that, can't I? On your
you should
show.
almost rewrite the book for guys so guys could understand it because I had to reread that a couple times to get understand the flow of that chapter, right?
Yeah. I
But
think
okay,
maybe for perfectionism, I don't know how it shows up in men's life. I don't know if you've thought about where moments of your life you've battled with that.
I'm like Charlie Brown's Pigpen. I can hop off the truck, working on things, be full of grease and everything, and go to a cool concert for kids. Like so, I am. There's not a lot of vanity in me. That makes sense. And if it wasn't for Debbie looking after my fashion, I'd probably look like a slob all the time, right? But my wife does a great job making sure I'm presentable in public, which is a challenge. But for the most time in my world, I'm in coveralls anyway, right? So
Oh,
and
okay.
all look the same in blue, so
Oh,
or red,
okay.
right? That makes sense.
Okay.
So to actually realize that you had an issue with buying clothes for and you dealt with that for a year, that's pretty amazing actually. Because I've come from a family of 10, 6 girls and 4 boys. So when girls get on a buying kick, I know what that's about, right? When they need their clothes and stuff. And not from personal experience. Well, kind of from personal observation, not personal experience. Does that make sense?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. Cool.
But
Well, that,
I think Maynard, it's more about um I think with perfectionism, I mean, whatever you're working on and deciding that you see a pattern in your life and you may not know the end result of figuring out the pattern. Like this year, I've decided that I'm not drinking this year. And the awareness that it has brought of why I drink or why I need to have a glass of wine or whatever it is, again, it's about changing a pattern. And so it doesn't have to be about clothes, but it can be something that you just do kind of automatically. You maybe not sure why you do it, but if
yeah.
you decided that consciously you're going to make a change, you're going to find out a lot about yourself. And it doesn't have to be clothes. It doesn't have to be, it can be whatever you decide you're like, oh, maybe I should try to change this pattern. And you'll find out a lot about yourself. You'll just gain more self-knowledge and it will automatically happen. But I I think that you need to give yourself a year. I honestly think that a year you'll find out a lot. I know someone wrote a book about make a habit in 21 days or whatever. I
Yeah.
I honestly don't believe that. I believe that you need to give yourself a good stretch of time, and I think you'll learn the lesson, and I think that your actions will change after a year. I really I really do. It happened in clothes shopping. It's going to happen with drinking, and I mean, it's yeah. I would be curious to know if anyone else does this, what they'll learn from it. But it changing a pattern is is interesting. It's not for the faint of heart. I will say that, but it is worth it. So
I think
that's chapter 3, and then chapter 4, 5, and 6, they kind of all go together. And that I think is where the real courage in my eyes has
taking place, eh?
really, yeah. And that is where I was raised very Catholic, and I was married the first
Were
man that
you
I ever, you
like
know,
was so the Catholic Church was entrenched into your household? Is that what you're saying?
oh, every Sunday I went to Catholic school, I went to Catholic church, I went to catechism. and that's just how my parents decided to raise us. And it's no fault of my
First
parents. I mean,
communion,
that's
second
what,
communion, the whole drill, eh?
pardon?
First communion, second communion, and bingo on Saturdays, right?
Oh, I did it all. I did, yeah, I did it all. And I got married in the Catholic Church.
Yeah,
My husband at the time was very gracious, and you know, we did whatever what was required to make that happen, because I couldn't see myself not get married in the Catholic Church. Like,
yeah,
it was so entrenched and ingrained in me, Maynard, that
yeah,
there was no option. I just had to get married in the Catholic Church. And I mean, like I said, my husband at the time was very gracious and said, okay, Jay, like, I'll do whatever it takes to make that happen. And I mean, I dedicate the book to my former husband, because he is amazing and patient and kind, and afforded me all of these things, and was a huge support in my journey. And um, so chapter 4, 5, and 6, I kind of say they all kind of go together, because it's kind of
yeah,
the unraveling of that Catholic um mentality of, I
yeah.
should, because the first person that I ever slept with, I
Societal
married.
norm. You're meaning the societal norms imposed by the Catholic Church.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where you're going with that.
Yeah. And
So that
so,
that all unraveled. So let's take a look. So that's within the book. Is all that all unraveled, and you created an entire new world for yourself. So how about that? Won't we expand on that?
yeah, well, that, and I just want to share with your audience, Maynard, is that, change doesn't happen in an instant. I mean, but the time I had an encounter with a woman at 30 to the time I asked for a divorce at 40, that was 10 years of discovering things and trying to understand myself. So for anyone that's listening, in the movies and they're like, oh yeah, now I'm this. It's like, no, like it takes time to, I had to change an identity. Like, I was a heterosexual woman for up until I was 40. Then I came out of the closet, and I had to gain confidence and understanding and learning that it's okay to look at pretty girls. And I mean, I can still enjoy men, don't get me wrong, but it's not where I belong. And I have a girlfriend now, which I'm very excited about.
Yeah,
And but
yeah.
that change doesn't happen overnight. And
No.
it takes,
So so over a period of 10 years, that must have been quite the internal battle for you then. Like you must have struggled quite a bit with that over a period of 10 years. Like self doubt, self questioning, self, right?
yeah. And I mean, it was a lot of I know this sounds really simple, but self-love and self-acceptance is such a gift we can give to ourselves if we work hard to give it to ourselves. And when I was able to know that I didn't belong in a heterosexual marriage, I had to ask for a divorce. I mean, I remember that day in March. I mean, I write it in the book. I remember that day, going to ask my best friend for a divorce.
Yeah.
Like, that was a very courageous day in March. And
Yeah, that's the big question to ask, right? That's a big question to ask. It takes a lot of inner strength to even come to the point of asking for that.
mhm,
Yeah, a lot of inner strength.
yeah,
So
divorce is divorce
how
is
many
hard.
years ago is this now? Like it still seems tender there, Jamie. So
Yeah,
how many
because
years?
I mean, I was divorced in 2020. And so the thing is that I still care for my
Not that
former
long. That's
husband.
not that long ago.
He was a big support when I was trying to figure out my sexuality. And he he is the person I am today. A lot of the reason, because he was supportive as I was, you know, trying to understand who I was. And I remember in 2015, I mean, I changed my name back to Murphy. I mean, I took my husband's name when I got married, and I changed it back. And he's like, yeah, like change it. Like,
Yeah.
he's he's the one that drove me to the airport when I flew to Turkey to see the girl that I was with 3 years earlier.
Yeah.
And he put me on the plane, like, and when I came back and I was dealing with processing that, he was there through it all. And that, you know, that may seem unorthodox. That may seem like, okay, I was having an affair, but I wasn't. He was trying to help me figure out who I was. And that, so I'm ever thankful for him for that. And I'm so thankful that I was married to him, because, if I was married to someone who um, didn't see that as growth,
Yeah.
then my story would have been different, Maynard.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So how is your ex with this? Like, so what happened in his world? So you're as we make changes in our own world, it affects others very
Of
quickly.
course it does.
At the spin of the century, there, I left my first marriage, and that affected a lot of people as well as myself. That's changed. With change comes change, right? And some change is good, some change is bad. So what happened in his world?
Well, I mean, I can't speak for him, but I will say that when I asked for the divorce and we went through with the paperwork and things like that, um, it took about 5 years for him to come back into my life. So I cannot speak to, how he dealt with it from his end. Um, but I am thankful that he is back in my life, and as a friend and and a support. Um, but I would speak that I had to lose my best friend. Like, he was my best friend. So and how hard that was. And so I can't speak for him, but
Yeah,
I can imagine how hard it is for him to lose his best friend.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah. It's still tender. I can see that. It's still tender. Absolutely. Okay. You okay there, Jamie?
Yeah, it's all good. And um emotions they're okay to come. And
Yeah,
um it's, I think, it just shows, I think, how much he meant to me. And
yeah.
it's
But it's good that you still have that friendship. It's just manifests itself in a different way. That's all.
yeah. Like,
Yeah,
when I got divorced, I wrote an intention that, one day he would be in my life, one day,
yeah,
the Japanese, it's kinjitsu or something like that, where, you have a shattered pottery and then you build it back with gold. And yes, it's not going to have the same polished look, but it's still going to have purpose and it's still going to be beautiful. And that's what my intention was when, you know, I asked for a divorce. I knew I would lose my best friend, Maynard. I knew it. But I also knew I can't be who I truly am. Whatever that was going to look like, I
yeah,
didn't know exactly what that was going to look like, but I knew I couldn't figure it out if I didn't ask for a divorce.
yeah. That's right. So it's like where we're at earlier, where I asked as well, what do you think would have happened if you had maintained the current course or the existing course at that point in time, right?
Mhm. Like, maybe I would have stayed married. Maybe I would have got a girlfriend and had maybe an open marriage. I'm not sure, but that didn't feel like my former husband would have given me that choice, but it didn't feel right. Like, it didn't feel like that was the solution. And
Yeah,
so I had to trust myself that I was, going to make the right decision to find out who I was. And um it, I think in the sixth chapter, I mean, I'm brought back to, grade 5 and grade 6, where, I was bullied as a kid. And the effects of that, show up in different ways in your life at different times. And so, again, it wasn't just one thing I was dealing with at one time. It was a multiple kind of collision of events. And I'm very thankful that, when you talk about community or your workplace, you have people that, you know, come together and work together, and, you know, you have that trust piece. And so I was thankful that during that time in my life, you know, I had a lot of support and a lot of help, because when you go through hard things, you don't want to be doing them alone. And that's why I'm so thankful to be on your show, because, you know, shame keeps us from doing things. And like, I remember like feeling not great about like talking to my therapist. I was like, oh, you know, I just felt, you know, I handled this when I was young. I don't need to be handling it again. I don't
Yeah.
need to be doing it again, because I did it already once. And so, you know, I'm thankful that I did go to therapy, and I'm thankful that, you know, I was able to heal and to take those steps, because, you know, again, I don't know where I would have been if I didn't take those steps to heal Maynard. I actually don't want to think about it, because it I'm just not too sure. So
Yeah.
it's I'm so thankful I can talk about it and say, you know, to people, you know, if you're thinking of therapy or you're dealing with something, you know, there is no shame in asking for help, because we can do hard things, but we are not meant to do them alone.
Yeah.
And, you know, when it comes to mental health and healing, I don't think it's fully understood. I think it's coming, but it's still, you know, it's all in their head. Well, it is in your head, but it is
Well, the mind,
also, you know,
the
attached
mind
to your
is
body.
the mind is such a powerful, powerful thing, Jaylene. I did an episode with a guy named Rob Hilditch, and he has his site called Social Chemistry, and Rob specializes in suicide. He attempted
Um,
suicide. Yeah, he attempted suicide. I met him when I bought Joey's Only Seafood in Manning Crossing, and he was a business
okay.
manager for Joey's Seafood. And 10 years later, after I run the franchise and the sold franchise, I had my podcast going, and I saw one of Rob's posts on TikTok, and I reached out to him, not recognizing it was the Rob that I knew, and I said, "Hey, you know, that's pretty powerful stuff. Would you like to hop on a podcast?" He said, "Yeah, sure, Maynard. How'd you know me?" Right? And we got to go, and as he was at a rough point in his life, and he did not reach out for help for anybody, uh, as guys do. And we're hairy ass
No,
guys
we
like
need to
that.
change that, Maynard. We need to change that, because men are
Yeah,
ashamed to feel, they're ashamed to ask for help, and we have got to change that.
yeah. Yeah, that's it. Well, that's exactly it, right? And that's exactly what Rob's mission is now. Is he's a self-employed entrepreneur. He no longer works for the franchise head office, stuff like that. But his crusade is to help people get that help that they need, right? And there's no shame in reaching for help. If you're dealing with something emotionally, and it doesn't have to be such a massive change as yourself, but there's many changes in life, and that's life is changes every 10 years, right? That it's important. Sometimes it's a journal that can help you. Sometimes it's a friend that can help you. Sometimes you need a professional to sort shit out. But the reality is that there's no shame in asking for help. So that being said, in your healing journey, how supportive was the Catholic Church in all this?
Well, it wasn't involved, because
Oh,
I left the Catholic Church pretty much maybe a couple years after I got married.
yeah,
So I've left religion altogether, and it's not a place where I find supported. And I would say that going through everything that I was going through, and I would say my boss at work was extremely supportive. My girls that I work with every day, I mean, I've been at Paul Travel for 24 years. We're like a little family. They were supportive. My family was supportive. And and you know, I may not have shared exactly what I was going through at that time, because there was just so much going on, but it didn't matter. Like, they just were there, and you know, they were there, and when I was ready to share, they listened, but they weren't judgmental. They weren't pushing me to share things that I wasn't ready to share. And when I was ready to share, they were supportive. And, like when I went and, I told my dad that I was going to get a girlfriend, that was a huge day. I remember, that heaviness on my chest,
Yeah.
going to tell my dad, like, I'm going to get a girlfriend. Like, I'm the first one in my large Irish Ukrainian Catholic family to come out of the closet.
Yeah.
And that,
How was that received?
my dad just said, as long as you're happy,
Wow.
you know,
So
my my dad,
that's big in itself, isn't it?
pardon?
That's big in itself.
Yeah, like my parents are not very expressive. It's just,
Yeah.
that's just the nature of how they are. And so, for my dad to say that, just was huge, because it just reinforced the fact that, you know, he loves me no matter what. And I haven't been kicked out of my family. I mean, I know that, for others that have come out of the closet, that has not been the case.
Yeah.
And others feel, that they can't, because of family or culture or the multi layers of that.
Yeah.
And I feel for those people, because, you know, I know what it's like to live in fear, just of yourself sometimes, like, how am I going to tell, my coworkers that I want a girlfriend? How am I going to tell my family now that, because everyone loved my former husband. Like, he's so
Yeah.
sweet and kind, and, a lot of people couldn't understand. And so when I was able to get to the point in that, in myself, where I was able to now, I was able to get divorced, and then, I was able to tell people that I was going to get a girlfriend. It was coming out of the closet each time and gaining a little bit more confidence. But again, for people that are, struggling with sexuality, I really feel for them, because it's not cut and dry, sexuality. And it's, when you have cultural or religion involved, it's another added layer. And
Later.
so,
Yeah. Any deviation from the norm tends to offer some type of resistance, right? No,
yes,
no,
Maynard.
like that's I've seen that over the years. I got a couple of years on you, Jaylene. But I've seen that over the years. Like, in any opposition to the norm always will meet some type of resistance, right? And then the battle begins. Is it an internal battle or an external battle?
Or it can be both at the same
And they
time.
combination of both, yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly where your book of courage leads to, right? So
Mhm.
that's encouraging people to look inside and grab that courage and find that courage and work for that courage. Would that be a good analogy? Or
Yeah, I would say, courage can be cultivated. And I write in my book, chapter 3, about fighting perfectionism. Like, I read motivational quotes day in and day out, going to tell my dad I was coming out of the closet. Like, I read motivational quotes because I needed to summon that courage from somewhere, because I don't
so
think I really
did
had
you
it in
grab strength?
myself.
Did you grab strength from those quotes?
For
Is that
sure. For sure. And, when reading certain books, and that's why I list all of the books that helped me in my journey at the end of my book. So many books help me, and I'm so thankful that those writers wrote those books, because I didn't feel alone. When I read those books about, a woman who's married and in love with women, I was like, my God, that's me. Like, I saw myself in those books, and I don't know, I didn't feel alone. And that's why, when I wrote this book, I was like, people may not, yes, of course, run the same story as me, and that doesn't matter. But, for them to know that they're not alone in their struggle, that's why I wanted to write the book. I wanted to be there for them on a dark day. And, it is something where I go back to motivational quotes, but my God, they were helpful. They were, they really helped me take some hard steps, because a lot of people have trailblazed for centuries, and I'm able to read those quotes, and then I'm able to take those steps. And so I'm just so thankful
So that's an
for
offering. That's an offering for yourself, for others, actually, right?
yeah,
Your
yeah.
your your position in life and your journey is someone else's dream. Ironically enough, isn't it? Eh? Right. Ironic as it is, that's the reality. You will offer hope to a lot of people on that, right? I'm not making light of your path in life, but you're not the only one that's probably experienced things like that. I'm
No,
I'm a,
no. And
I'm a,
I'm so thankful that people have written other books, because, you know, people, as you turn the pages, you might read something that sticks with you and that makes you take that next step. So whatever you're consuming, I really hope, it's helping you move forward and take those steps.
So the most powerful message I could pass on to my listeners about your book is what could they use from your book to benefit themselves?
Well, I hope it's just the message of, you're not alone, and that you know something that, like, courage is universal, and it is available to all of us. And it is something where, you know it can be cultivated every day, and baby steps is key. Like, like I said, those 10 years of getting out of the closet, there was a lot to process, and every day was another step. And like I said, it takes time, Maynard. It takes time for change, and for I guess for me to trust myself, but for your listeners to start trusting themselves and believing in themselves. And that doesn't happen overnight. It just,
No,
it doesn't.
it's like
And
eating an elephant one bite at a time, eh? You've ever heard that saying?
no, I don't think so.
You've never heard that? No, we say that in the industry all the time. For a lot of
Can you say it again?
the projects I'm involved in, they take weeks to complete. That's what we say is how do you eat an elephant? And that's one bite at a time, right?
Okay, I don't think I've ever heard that, but that is smart. That's a wise
No,
quote.
it's pretty common in my industry, right? So because of the massive projects we take on, right? So you
Yeah.
just can't do it all in one day, right? That's kind of life in a nutshell, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the changing yourself in 21 days, I'll kind of give you a little tip to where that come from. I forget who wrote that book, but he had surmised that it whenever you do anything, it takes 5 times to understanding, 9 times to memory, and 21 times to habit is what we learn, right? So if I teach you how to fix a component, it'll take you 5 times of actually doing it hands on to actually understand what you're doing. 9 times to memory to actually remember how to do it in sequence, and then 21 times is basically a habit. So undoing things is very similar to that. It's because you've done something for so many years to undo that. You don't undo that with a snap. And we're right back to where Jalene's saying is it's one little bit at a time, day by day by day. So for my listeners there, there's a lot to learn in this episode by all means. Jalene, your book's available where, my dear?
So you can order it through any bookstore or Amazon. And for online presence, I think I am on LinkedIn, but I would say Instagram at Jalene Murphy is my favorite platform. And definitely come and find me. I'd love to hear sort of, how you're using courage to move forward. And it is something where um, I just, like I said, I wrote the book to help other people live courageously. And we live in a time where we need more courageous people. And I hope that, if you're listening, you're able to trust yourself and to take the steps you need to live courageously, to heal, to whatever it is you're working on within yourself, because it is hard work, but the reward is worth it. So
Yeah, regardless of what you're doing or what you're trying to change, it requires that very same courage that you've shown us in your life, right?
mhm, mhm.
Absolutely. That's very, very powerful. And I really appreciate your time today, too. That's really cool. So let's go back to our speaking. So we met speaking. What are your plans for the future now? So we met in a speakers boot camp in Edmonton. Are you planning on speaking? Are you planning to get involved in the community? Are you just going to be seclusive in your life? Or what's your plan,
Yeah,
Jaylee?
yeah, no, I definitely want to do more speaking. And so it's just a matter of just doing it, like just reaching out to people and seeing, okay, who does my message, where does my message fit? And who is that, who wants to, um, you know, have that message of courage. And, it is something where, I mean, I have a full-time job, so I just have to kind of balance both, but it
Yeah.
is something where I definitely want to be more in community and to share that message of courage.
That's cool. That's really, really cool. There's should be a lot of connections you can make within Edmonton, eh? To start helping
Mhm.
people, helping other groups and stuff like that. So I see a bright future for you.
Well, thank you for having me on this show, Maynard. It was great to meet you at boot camp and excited to see where your next step will take you.
I'm a busy little old man, I'll tell you that.
It's
All
good
right.
though. It shows that you're engaged with life, and that is, I, I mean, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like my people. People are very, very cool. I like people. I'm blessed. So in closing, once again, I'm going to be pushing my book, Onward Buttercups. Onward Buttercups. Here's the book. Hey, Jaylene's got a copy too. We had a book swap down in Edmonton.
Yes. I was going to
Uh,
ask you, how do I leave a review for you?
just go right to Amazon. Go right to
Okay.
Amazon. I
Okay.
see in the United States on Amazon.com, like my book's got mega reviews. And up here in Canada, for all the people who have it, it's shame, shame, shame on you guys. You need to get the Amazon review that for me, please.
Okay.
Next thing is my talking world. You can find me at maynardtbear.com. Sweet and simple as that. And Gears of Trust. We're back up and running, and hopefully I'll be able to maintain some continuity. The next episode, I'm looking for a guy right now. We're going to talk about uh, C2, Bill C2, that's passed its first reading in Parliament, which is quite a powerful bill. Have you ever heard about C2 yet, Jaylene?
No, no.
No, you're not going to like this. You're not going to like this bill at all. This legislation is not good for Canada. But that being said, thanks for tuning in to Gears of Trust. I greatly appreciate it. Jaylene, thank you so much for giving me your time this morning, early on a Sunday morning. It took me 2 coffees to get straight away, but we're good and we're going.
Well,
And
thank
if you have any
you.
questions, if you'd like to reach out to Jaylene, by all means, reach out to me on YouTube. You'll see links to Jaylene's book on Amazon. By all means, support her. And if you got anything to add, by all means, comments are greatly appreciated. And I think that's it for the show.
Thank
Jaylene, I'll
you.
ask you to stay behind the scenes there and we'll get all the downloads all done. Thanks for
Sure.
tuning in, folks. Talk to you
Thank
later.
you.
Bye-bye. And that's it.